Somewhere in the Yukon wilderness, 4 wash plants are running at once, burning through nearly $100,000 a day. And one 31-year-old mine boss is betting everything on a number nobody in his family has ever chased before: 10,000 ounces of gold in a single season. If he pulls it off, it will be the biggest haul of his career and one of the largest placer seasons the Klondike has ever seen. If he doesn't, it could be the most expensive mistake he's ever made. This is the story of Parker Schnabel Season 16, and why insiders are already calling it his most ambitious gamble yet. Parker Schnabel didn't arrive at this moment by accident. He was born in Haines, Alaska, a small town wedged between mountains and the sea, and gold mining was already in his blood. His grandfather, John Schnabel, a World War II veteran who didn't even start mining until he was 68 years old, had bought a placer claim at Porcupine Creek back in 1984 and built it into the Big Nugget mine. Parker's first 2 seasons on television were a learning curve: just 34 ounces in Season 2, then 192 ounces in Season 3. Modest numbers by today's standards, but they were the foundation everything else was built on. He was absorbing decades of placer knowledge from his grandfather while running real machinery on a real mine, all while cameras rolled. TV Insider. The scale of Parker's operation today is almost unrecognizable compared to those early years. His career total now exceeds 50,000 ounces of gold, worth well over $50 million, and that number keeps climbing every season. The turning point came in 2023, when Parker made the single boldest financial decision of his career. He paid approximately $15 million for a massive block of placer claims on Dominion Creek, the largest land investment in gold rush history and one of the biggest private placer acquisitions in the modern Klondike. Geologists estimated the ground could hold roughly 80,000 recoverable ounces, and at today's elevated gold prices, that represented a payout that could dwarf almost anything he'd mined before. But owning rich ground and actually pulling it out of the frozen earth are 2 very different challenges, and Parker knew it. TV Insider. Season 15 had already shown what was possible when conditions lined up. It became his most lucrative season by dollar value at that point, bringing in $18.3 million, thanks largely to record gold prices. That kind of number would have satisfied most miners for a lifetime. For Parker, it was proof of concept. Dominion Creek was finally prepped after years of groundwork, and heading into Season 16, he decided it was time to go bigger than he ever had. TV Insider. Parker's target for Season 16 was 10,000 ounces of gold, worth approximately $35 million, a goal that would require running 4 wash plants simultaneously for the first time in his career. He called it his biggest mining experiment ever. The operation was split across multiple sites in the Klondike. Dominion Creek became the primary focus, with 2 wash plants running under foreman Tyson Lee, while the Indian River site was managed by longtime right-hand man Mitch Blashed, running the plant known as Roxanne. A 4th plant was added at Sulphur Creek. Later in the season, Parker deployed a brand new machine, a wash plant nicknamed Gigi, that alone cost close to $1 million to bring online. TV Insider. The financial pressure of running an operation this size is almost impossible to overstate. With all 4 plants running, daily operating costs approached $100,000, which meant Parker needed to recover substantial gold every single day just to break even before he ever saw a profit. He's been blunt about what that kind of scale demands. Mining, he said, is a game of massive capital expenditure, and the challenge is often just finding a way to keep spending money fast enough to keep the operation moving. That's not a complaint. For Parker, it's simply the price of playing at this level. TV Insider. The season didn't open quietly. Early weigh-ins showed the scale of what Parker was attempting. In one early cleanup, his team pulled in 710.05 ounces, worth roughly $2.5 million, pushing his season total past 4,200 ounces as he chased the 10,000-ounce target. That single weigh-in came from a combination of sites. The tail end of Sulphur Creek pay contributing 221.02 ounces, the Gold Mile Cut adding 273.15 ounces, and the Bridge Cut delivering another 216.50 ounces. It was, by any measure, an extraordinary week of production. But big numbers came with big risk, and Season 16 made sure Parker never forgot it. Yahoo! Nature intervened first. In January, wildfires believed to have been sparked by lightning tore across the Yukon. More than 90 separate fires burning across roughly 250,000 acres. At Dominion Creek, flames came within 3 or 4 miles of camp, forcing Parker to leave the site for several days, while his foreman scrambled to finish sluicing and relocate an entire wash plant before a water license expired. Rain eventually helped bring the fires under control, but the disruption cost the operation valuable time it couldn't easily get back. Then came the equipment failures, which in an operation running this hard are less a possibility than an inevitability. When the shaker deck on the Roxanne wash plant failed, Parker's mechanics had only a matter of seconds to install new bearings, freezing and heating components into place under pressure. If the repair had failed, the plant could have been down for weeks and cost millions of dollars. It held. But a few weeks later, disaster nearly struck again. Parker's team faced a breakdown that mechanics later described as the worst he'd experienced in 13 years, with the crew given only a 15 to 20-second window to complete a critical repair before Roxanne would have gone down for weeks, a scenario that could have cost Parker millions. Once again, the team pulled it off. Not every week was so lucky. One weigh-in brought in just 49.60 ounces from Roxanne, though Dominion Creek picked up the slack, with the bridge cut adding 147.05 ounces and the Golden Mile plants contributing another 232.05 ounces combined, bringing that week's total to just over $1.5 million, a noticeable drop from the highs earlier in the season, but still enough to push Parker past the halfway mark of his goal. Yahoo +2. The financial strain of running 4 plants simultaneously showed up off the mining site as well. At one point, tension boiled over between Parker and fellow miner Kevin Beats over a delayed equipment payment, a reminder that even at this scale, cash flow problems can hit any operation. Through it all, Parker stayed characteristically direct with his crew about what it would take to keep 4 plants alive at once, describing the effort at one stage as taking the operation's chaos to an entirely new level. By the season's midpoint, the numbers told a story of real, hard-won progress rather than an easy record chase. Parker was closing in on 5,000 ounces roughly halfway through the season, and weekly totals continued to fluctuate depending on which sites were running well. One strong week saw production jump from 428.7 ounces to 505.4 ounces, pushing his cumulative season total to 5,855.9 ounces. It was clear he was on pace to challenge his own record, but nowhere near assured that 10,000 ounces was guaranteed. Sportskeeda Yahoo! As the season moved into its final stretch, Parker's operation kept expanding under pressure rather than easing off. 6 weeks before the water license at Sulphur Creek was set to expire, Parker authorized an expanded push there, deploying 5 additional trucks, 2 excavators, and a loader feeder to keep the wash plant supplied. The push wasn't without cost. Operations were briefly halted when one of the excavators malfunctioned, shutting down the entire plant at a reported cost of $8,000 for every hour it sat idle. Mechanic Taylor Mateka traced the fault to a parking brake issue and got the machine back online, and production resumed. That week's combined weigh-in brought in 827 ounces valued at $2.8 million, with the bridge cut delivering 188.40 ounces, the Golden Mile plant adding 232.10 ounces, and the expanded Sulphur Creek cut alone producing 406.50 ounces, a single site nearly matching the combined output of 2 entire plants elsewhere in the operation. Miningandanagy +2. Parker himself acknowledged just how tight the coordination had become across his sites, admitting that his team was essentially threading multiple needles at once, trying to finish work at Sulphur Creek before its license lapsed, while simultaneously preparing the Indian River site to take over. It's the kind of logistical balancing act that separates a good season from a great one, and Parker's willingness to keep pushing equipment and crews to their limits became the defining trait of his Season 16 campaign. By spring, the payoff of that relentless pace was becoming clear. With much of the season's focus on Dominion Creek, Parker also leaned on foreman Mitch Blaschke at the can and Stewart's Claim to keep production moving, and the operation's new $1 million wash plant, nicknamed Gigi, began contributing meaningfully to the season total. One weekly weigh-in saw the bridge cut produce 152.55 ounces, Big Red add 133.15 ounces, Gigi open its run with 177.05 ounces, and Roxanne finish at 143.08 ounces, pushing Parker's season total to nearly $29.4 million, the most gold he had ever mined in a single season. It was a milestone moment, not because it hit the 10,000-ounce target outright, but because it confirmed the gamble on Dominion Creek was paying off in a way no previous season had. NBC right now, NBC right now. What makes Parker Season 16 push notable isn't just the size of the numbers, it's the philosophy behind them. Where earlier generations of Klondike miners were content working smaller, single-site claims, Parker built something closer to an industrial operation. Multiple wash plants, multiple foremen, multiple claims running in parallel, all coordinated in real time, so that a breakdown at one site doesn't have to stop the entire season. That structure is exactly why his operation could absorb wildfires, equipment failures, and slow weeks without ever fully losing momentum. When one plant went down, another picked up the slack. When one site's ground played out, resources shifted to wherever the pay dirt was richest. It's also worth putting Parker's numbers in context against the rest of the Klondike's biggest names. Tony Beats, long known as one of the most successful operators in the region, had his own strong run that same season, with his crew's best single weigh-in, bringing in 267.09 and 247.05 ounces from two plants, plus another 408.46 ounces from a trommel, pushing his season total north of $28 million by that point. Numbers that rival Parker's own. That kind of competition between operations pushing each other toward records simultaneously is part of what made this particular gold rush season stand out from the ones before it. None of this happened without risk, and Parker has never pretended otherwise.